What's going on, fellow A-plussers? It's your boy Adam Perez back once again with a brand new video for you guys today as we've got more content certainly headed your way. As today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to dive into the newest Predator film that just went ahead and dropped over on Hulu this past weekend. Prey. That's right, guys. Something that I think we've been talking about very heavily over on A Plus Hero Report. Really anticipating this film. It's finally here. If you haven't had the opportunity to check it out for yourselves, please go ahead and do so, as we're going to go ahead and give you a little bit of a non-spoiler, maybe some spoilerish review for you guys. We'll definitely put some timestamps in the description box below. But we're definitely going to go ahead and get into our thoughts and our review of this particular film in Prey. That's right, guys, from the director of 10 Cloverfield Lane. But it's not just myself that's going to be talking about some Predator movie today. No, not just myself. Good old Stewart Branscombe in the house. What's going on, buddy? Good to see you, man. Oh, I think you're muted.
My bad. I keep doing that. But yeah, good to be here. Really excited to talk about this. I think I brought up on the channel before that I'm a pretty casual Predator fan. Like, I've definitely seen all the Predator movies, but never gets better than the first one. I mean, Predators definitely came close, and but yeah, anytime we get a new one, I'm always excited.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, out of all the Predator films that I've seen, the first one is just a classic. I've seen it more times than I can certainly count. I love the film. And then yeah, for me, I think the other one is Predators. Also, isn't that the one where they like drop the prisoners on the planet, sort of thing?
Yeah, or we don't know
And
if
they're
they were prisoners before, but we know that they were all like dangerous mercenaries. But yeah, they all
mm.
get dropped on the planet essentially, so they're fighting the predators in their own home territory and all that.
Yeah, after that, everything else is a blur to me outside of the idea of Danny Glover being in Predator 2. Really all I rather choose to remember from that film. I don't necessarily think I was the biggest fan of it, but outside of those two films we mentioned, Stuart, nothing's really lived up to my expectations or really kind of taken this franchise by storm. But would you agree with me when I would say Prey is the one now?
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
I was very, very pleasantly surprised with this movie because when I saw the trailer, I thought it could go one of two ways. I thought one, it could be laughably like
Mhm.
historically inaccurate in terms of like just the way Native Americans are portrayed in it. I thought it could go that direction, or I thought it could be incredibly historically accurate and suffer then from being incredibly boring, and it does neither of that. It feel like, okay, I can't say for sure if it's accurate because I'm not like the biggest history buff or anything like that. I don't know I'm not very well knowledged in the field of medicine, so a lot of the techniques that you see her using to help people that are injured, I can't say for sure if that would actually work in real life, but I can say that it feels like something that would work in real life. It all feels very historically accurate to me looking into this, and it doesn't feel like it feels like something that they've at least done the research on before, like making a whole movie on. When it comes to like the weapon designs, when it comes to the costume design as well, the overall aesthetic of the film, it all feels like exactly how you would kind of imagine back then being. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like we've really complicated the Predator film in general over the years.
Yeah.
Like this movie for me, I absolutely love this movie. Me and the girlfriend watched it last night, and we looked at each other. We were like, "Wow, that was pretty good."
Hmm.
I think we went in here with certainly with open minds, very hesitant, just because we definitely feel like we've been burned from the past Predator films, but simple is better. I mean, as simplistic as you could certainly get in regards to just getting back to the roots of the original Predators film, what it's certainly meant to be. And it's just like, it makes me think after watching the movie, like, man, we've really made these Predator films a lot more complicated than they probably even need to be. As it really just kind of takes it back to the roots, and it honestly worked. One of the things that I really enjoyed about this movie was the mixture of like historical references. I mean, the fact that we're going back to 1719, the Northern Great Plains, I think that's a fantastic selection to go ahead and pick in regards to time periods. So to kind of see a mixture of the historical references, the Comanche tribe, and the Native Americans and stuff, and then at the same time, mix that all in with like a sci fi sort of horror thriller type of film. I could not have asked for more, man. I walked away highly impressed, not just with the director, but especially with the lead actress in here, Amber Midthunder. I was really floored by not only her performance, but the directing work that we wind up getting from, I believe his name is Dan Trech Trechtenberg, if I'm not mistaken. What did you think about the directing and the acting in general in this movie?
I thought the directing was really good. A lot of the cinematography was so beautiful.
Beautiful,
I don't know if it
beautiful.
was like filmed where like it was actually like taking place, but you know, it looked all incredibly beautiful. Like I love the sceneries and everything. And then yeah, I thought the performance we got from a lot of our actors, Amber Midthunder, I thought she did an amazing job as our main character. And then you know, I think a lot of the supporting cast did a great job
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, I was a big fan of her mother, along with her brother too. I loved how they worked as far as supporting characters for the main character and helping her move her motivations forward and things like that. For those of you who don't know, Dan Trechtenberg, who is the director for this film, was also director of 10 Cloverfield Lane. I definitely got vibes from that movie in here also, but him clearly expanding his range in regards to what he's certainly capable of doing. And I don't think he's got a lot of stuff on his IMBD in regards to it. I mean, I feel like outside of 10 Cloverfield Lane, this is probably the other biggest thing that he's probably done. And I think he knocked it out of the park and probably opened up some more opportunities for him somewhere down the road, whether that be a sequel to this film or other properties. I would love to see what else he's got in mind. And especially when it comes to just the shot selections in here. I don't know who the cinematographer was, but I would totally agree with you, Stuart. It's a gorgeous film. Again, the idea of being in the northern Great Plains, a great location. I'm under the impression that they filmed on location. It just seemed like way too natural to be anything else, but they have fooled me before when it comes to what they're capable of doing with the movie magic. But it was breathtaking. So some really great, amazing scenes in here as well. So shout out to the director of this film and Amber Midthunder. I have not seen her in much of anything for me personally, but not to say that she doesn't have experience. She was in the Roswell, New Mexico television series for quite some time. And I believe she was also in Legion, the FX X-Men series, Legion. For a short period of time as well. So those are the only other two things that I really think that she's had the opportunity to sink her teeth into. But coming up in a family, from what I read of, like her father being an actor, I think her mom was a stunt actor also. It feels like she put all of that stuff together in this movie because not only did she give a great performance, man, but some of the physical attributes and the fighting that we got in here, especially one of the long unedited fight shots of her.
Hmm.
Man, she just kicked ass. I mean, talk about just putting yourself on the map for like Marvel, DC, any franchise property you need me. I mean, I think she totally made a name for herself in this film. What do you think, though?
Yeah, I agree, which is why like it's kind of funny. A lot of the stunts, not just from her, but the guy that played her brother as well, Dakota Beavers,
Oh yeah,
both of them did like
great
an
too.
incredible job with a lot of
Loved it.
the stunts. I think my only nitpick when it comes to those stunts, some of the times, and not all the time, some of the times the camera work was great.
Hmm.
They let it play out, and you could like see it all, and it flowed together really smoothly. But there were a few times where they did a few too many cuts, I think, during some of the action, some of the stunts. And so like a lot of the times when you're switching from one angle to another, it felt like it didn't match and it didn't flow as well as much as I wish it did. And again, those were like very few and far in between, and compared to like the many other stunts that actually did flow together really well. There were just a few rough ones here and there.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you mean. But yeah, like you said, overall, it was pretty damn impressive. I thought that we had some pretty gnarly kills in here, some pretty
Hmm.
great action for the most part. The Predator really shined for me. There was something really cool about the idea of not only seeing the Predator in here, but seeing him sort of like test himself, if you will, right? Like the idea of like where does he kind of belong on the food chain in the sense of like where he begins in regards to his hunt and to like where it kind of takes him. And I thought it was pretty smart in regards to maybe explaining like some of the reasons why he doesn't attack certain people because of like your inferiority now when he realizes there's like bigger game out there that he needs to be worried about. Just really cool, thoughtful things like that going into the story, and really showcasing the Predator in that type of environment. And just again, the idea of just seeing it taking place so far back in 1719, showcasing the idea of like they've really been visiting this planet sort of for years. I love really building on that Predator lore for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Actually, I'm gonna wait till we get more spoiled before I go on before I elaborate on that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
no problem.
there's something about the Predator that I just thought was incredibly the way it was like in a story kind of sense. The way the Predator went after his prey, I thought was incredibly smart, surprisingly. But I'll
Yeah,
get more into that later.
yeah, no, I think I get what you're talking about, but yeah, we'll definitely get into some spoilers here in just a second. But yeah, outside of that, man, again, Amber Midthunder as the main character in here, I thought was great. I really love the attention to character details and especially her own motivations. Really, the idea of wanting to prove herself, or prove others wrong, if you will. Her passion to certainly go ahead and become a little bit of a warrior. And I kind of like the idea, Stuart, that they immediately set the tone in the sense that it's not like she's a newbie to being this, right? Like she's clearly trained. She definitely has a brother who is really looked up to clearly in the tribe sort of thing, and has clearly picked up some things throughout her time. And so the idea of her really wanting to show that she's very capable, instead of necessarily fitting into those stereotypes of what tribes women are simply supposed to do in the sense of like cooking and medicine and stuff. I really love getting the opportunity to see how her supporting characters in here really lifted her up and also really helped push to her achieving her goal in here. And I thought they did a really good job. I honestly, from a standpoint, from storyline wise, I thought they did everybody justice from the Predator to the main character and even the supporting characters. This was a really enjoyable movie, man.
Yeah. Last non-spoilery positive thing I got to say about this movie, the whoever did the training for the dog did
Oh
an amazing
yeah.
job, because that dog was really good at like just, getting they did a good job of getting all the actions they needed that dog to do, and it never feeling like the dog was given direction to do so. It always feels like the dog, it never feels like the dog is acting, you know what I mean? It never feels like the dog is following instructions. It always feels like an actual dog that's just part of the story.
Before we get into the spoilers and the cons, if you had to grade Prey, one, would you recommend people check it out, and then what would you grade it?
Oh man, I would definitely recommend people check it out. The only people I wouldn't recommend watching it is if you're like at all
Squeamish?
squeamish. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Because
yeah.
towards the second half of the movie, it definitely gets kind of creative with some of the kills. But yeah, overall, I'd probably give this movie like a solid B plus, if not an A minus. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it an A. I'm definitely gonna give it an A. I really enjoyed it. Not gonna go A minus or A plus. Definitely gonna get a solid, really enjoyable A. You can't go wrong with this movie, guys. So if you have not had the opportunity to check it out for yourselves, please go ahead and do so. It is currently up on Hulu. I don't think you'll certainly be disappointed. So that is the non-spoiler aspect of this particular review. Stuart, let's get into the nitty gritty, man. You got any spoilerish stuff you want to talk about? Maybe even some cons that allow you to get into the nitty gritty. What's going on in your head right now?
I can't think of any cons off the top of my head, but
Yeah, it's kind of hard.
let me start with one of the things that I really loved about the direction in the movie, and that's got to be the way the Predator was slowly becoming more and more of a threat over time. Something I
Mhm.
really liked, and I feel like this had to have been done on purpose, is it feels like the more people that were out to try to hunt the Predator down, the more like that was going on, that more effort that the Predator actually had to like put into his attacks.
Oh
You would
yeah.
see like the more advanced weapons he actually had. There were
Mm.
times where he would use nothing, and I kind of like that. It's like this is a Predator that really wants to challenge himself, and that's why he doesn't go after a couple or like a couple of the prey that he thinks like are kind of useless. Essentially, he's like, yeah, they're no threats. There's no reason to go after them, and yeah, I do like that he doesn't seem to go to his more advanced weaponry until he feels like he needs to. It's like, okay, what little can I use to give myself a challenge a lot of the times.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you pointed that out because I don't necessarily know if I realized that until you mentioned it. But yeah, like even when he goes to face the snake at first, right? I think he uses the claw, like it bites him. I think if I, no, I don't think it bites him at first, but he uses his claw to go ahead and kill him. Same thing with the bear, right? Like it takes him a while. Like it's almost like he wants to face it, sort of like hand to hand combat sort of thing to
Yeah.
see where he tests against the strength, and to the point to where it's like, all right, now I'm gonna go ahead and bring in the heavy artillery to go ahead and take this thing out. Like the fact that he literally didn't he knock out the
He
bear with one
punched it.
punch?
One punch.
I was like, "What? Did he just do that?" But yeah, you're absolutely right. The bigger the threat, the more the weapons certainly come out. And I thought it was just really smart in the sense of like when we see the main character running away and she gets trapped in the hunter's trap. Before that, she's definitely a threat. But once she gets trapped, it's like he realizes, oh, you're just somebody else's prey, right? Like there's somebody else out there. And then he realizes the people with the guns and stuff. And I'm just like, man, that's pretty cool that he decides, clearly she's not that big of a threat to me anymore. There's clearly somebody else out there that I need to prove myself against. And I just thought it was really smart storytelling, man.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, and especially like when they got when the gunpowder starts coming in, and that's when he starts to use a lot more of the sci-fi tech.
Oh yeah, that's true too. And I was actually a really big fan of Amber's plan at the end.
Hmm.
Very very thoughtful, very smart, very aware of how some of the weapons wind up working. The fact that she realized the laser sight on the helmet and her deciding to go ahead and steal that from him and set him up in a trap like that, especially with the quicksand or the mud that she wound up finding herself in. I probably would have liked the fight scene to be a little bit longer, but it was incredibly intense. And I absolutely love seeing how she pulled off the win in this.
I love how everything kind of came full circle when it came to the fight with the predator at the end. So like a lot of like small things that you would see, whether it be like a bear trap or whether it be
Mm,
like the mud from the beginning, all of that stuff was set up, the helmet, all of it. And so it just made that final battle, like, I know, like you said, I definitely agree, it was kind of short, but it also kind of feels like it needed to be, because if it went on any longer, I feel like her
that's true.
constantly being able to keep up with the predator would start to be a little bit too silly. And I
Yeah.
think her using what she had learned throughout the course of the movie and applying all of it at once, I thought that was like a perfect way to kind of end that big battle between the
No,
two of them.
you're probably right. You're absolutely probably right. The way that it ended, if it had gone on a little bit too long and be like, really, he can't kill her, like, come on. But I think she does. I think she fights extremely smart, and I think that is definitely to her betterment. Clearly trained very much by her brother, and you're right that that moment does kind of bring everything full circle to where she even repeats the quote that her brother gave to her the night that they were going to go after the lion. The idea of like, let it come to you, like this, it ends, but it ends here, right? Like it stops right here, sort of thing. And I really love that motivation that she wound up carrying over from her brother, who, I gotta be honest, man, I was really torn up that he died. I was
Hmm.
really hoping that he would kind of make it through this movie. And I think that's detriment to, I guess that, excuse me, not detriment, but I think that definitely shows you the level of writing for me to get accustomed and really supportive of the supporting character in here. I was actually pretty moved by it, and the idea that it really kind of gives her that motivation to want to go ahead and really take this predator out. I thought it was a really great scene where she's, after watching the death of her brother, she's washing her hands in the river, and that's also cut with the mother receiving the terrible news. And there was a part of me that thought that she was going to go back to her tribe or go back home before maybe coming up with a game plan. But no, I mean, I feel like we went from action sequence to a brief rest time to action sequence to a very brief rest time to more action sequence. I feel like the last half of this movie, whether it had been the fight scene in the fog where they were tied up, the base camp of the French hunters, and then even all the way to the night battle. I thought it was handled extremely well, man. I was blown away by it.
Yeah, and last thing I'll say when it comes to progression in this movie, I love thematically how they bring, like, it feels like the reason that she's not welcome on the hunt it's not necessarily because she's a girl, but that's like the reason she sees it in her head. She like sees it as no one wants me to hunt with them because I'm a girl. But then kind of later on, you really see that the real reason is because she wants to hunt. And that's kind of like the
Mm.
thing that concerns a lot of, especially her brother. Her brother isn't like telling her to stay back because he's sexist. He's like, I'm genuinely concerned for you. You're making some, very bad irrational mistakes, and it all comes down to the fact that she's trying to hunt because she wants to, kind of similar like the predator. He hunts for sport, and then that ends up being the predator's downfall, because then this is all a game. But to her, just like what her mother says in the beginning, we're not hunting because we want
Mm.
to, we're hunting for survival. And
Survive.
it's when she finally realizes that she has all the knowledge for hunting at the beginning of the movie. It's like she knows everything she needs to know, but knowledge can only get you so far. It's when she has to apply that knowledge to
Mhm.
survive is when like her hunting skills actually become
Come in
incredible.
kicking.
They
Yeah.
go from being, just very mediocre to like suddenly like do not fucking mess with her.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right, because she definitely had the mindset of hunting when she went to go find the lion, and it was to her detriment there. That's where I could put that word in. And even though it does give her brother sort of the game plan in regards to how to take the lion out, she unfortunately really learns her lesson through that. So you're right. It definitely turns from hunting to survival by the end of this movie, and it certainly paid off for her. I love the whole fucking scorpion axe thing that she had, where she would throw it
Yeah.
and then pull it back and then catch it and just the back and forth. I mean, goddamn, it was just so smooth. I absolutely love what they created in here, man.
Immediately when I saw that, I'm like, oh, I love God of War.
Yeah, that was a great reference. But yeah, man, again, great stuff. I loved her motivation. I love the idea of her even kind of seeing a sign in the sky as she sees the predator ship going through the clouds. For a minute there, I had a nope moment where I was just waiting for like a UFO going through the clouds and stuff. But I thought it was really cool that she kind of saw that as a sign that this is her time to go ahead and sort of accept that challenge, or that what she needs in order to truly become a hunter, and to kind of see her facing off against a predator in here, man. Absolute perfection. I'm so thrilled with what they were able to achieve in this movie, man. So yeah, any last words that you got for this movie, Stuart?
Ooh, very last thing I will say,
Go for it.
this is probably my favorite Predator design. I really love the costume
Yes.
they had for him. I love the
The
mask as
mask,
well. The
the
mask was
shield
freaking
was
cool. The
dope.
shield, oh my gosh, I almost forgot about the shield. I loved that shield.
Yeah, man, they had some incredible weapons. He's had the spear, right? Where he can break it in half before, the two-sided spear that he winds up using. Have they showcased that in another Predator film before?
Pretty sure
Trying to
they had that
remember.
in the first one, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
they might have. They definitely might have. I love seeing the net grenade
Yeah,
that comes out and then shrinks it. I mean, God, it was just brutal, man. Just
the
brutal moments in here.
the kills are so creative and so fun to look at. Again, if you're not squeamish, if you are, then maybe this isn't for you.
Yeah, absolutely. But guys, listen, overall, we definitely have put this movie in very high regards. An incredible Predator film. If you haven't checked it out yourself, guys, please go ahead and do so. I'm assuming if you've stuck around for the spoiler-ish aspect, you definitely have seen the film. But we certainly want to know your thoughts. Listen, if there's anything that we missed, character moments, storyline details, Easter eggs that you guys want to further go ahead and certainly talk about, please let your thoughts be known in the comment section box below, and we'll definitely continue our discussion in the comments as well as in the Discord forum community, guys. So definitely go ahead and join us there. There is a link in the description box below. But other than that, Stuart, if people want to reach you on social media, where can they find you, sir?
You guys can tell me about why my opinions on this movie are incorrect over at TurboSue01 on Twitter.
And you can do the same for us here at A Plus Opinions, very active over on Facebook as well as Instagram and Twitter. And we'll definitely be back this upcoming Sunday for our live episode of A Plus Hero Report, live Sundays at noon Central Time. Until then, guys, do us a big favor. As always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A Plus. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.